Let's rock and roll. All right, pals, what's up? Thank you for joining me for a little Saturday session. Just wanted to check in with our B schoolers. And since we really don't talk about business much on the Money Mind Academy calls, I thought we'd get together, talk about business, answer any questions you have. But I want it to be less of like a Q&A session and more of a brainstorm than anything else. And so everybody here has knowledge and wisdom and all of that stuff when it comes to marketing and sales. Also, you have an opinion and you're a customer as well for things, so you know what you like and you know what you don't like. And so, yeah, just wanted to do this for a couple of hours. I have a hard stop at 11 o'clock, so that's 2 hours from now. So if we need that time, we can use all of it. I am a huge proponent, as you know, since we are all entrepreneurs, of courage and what's the word I'm looking for? Self-assertiveness. And so it's really important that you just not sit on your question and let everybody else ask their questions. Like, go down to the participants part of your little interface there on your screen and raise your hand so I can bring you on the air. But yeah, if you don't ask the question, it is not going to get answered. So speak up. Cool. Who wants to go first with a question or anything that you want to brainstorm with the group? Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get rocking and rolling with you.
I have a question, Sean.
All right, go ahead, Quinn. So there is just, while Quinn's talking here, if you hit your participants button, you can raise your hand there, and then I can bring you on the air. And so go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, okay. So I'm in the process of creating my first online program in Kajabi and making an ad. You know, I'm going to do a free class and all that awesome stuff. Mm-hmm. So I went into it wanting it to be really simple and not like let things stop me. Like, oh, I need to take an 8-week course about making courses before I make a course, you know, just like, right. I'm just going to do it and make it happen for people. So I'm super excited, but I am a little bit nervous about the marketing component, right? My plan is to run an ad for the free class for 2 weeks and promote it and talk about it. I've already had people emailing me who want in, which is incredible. And get participants in there and then do the free class, pitch at the end for the course, and then open the doors for sales for the course for a week, and then close the door, run the course for 6 weeks. But I don't want to be missing any like huge component. My plan is pretty much to run like Facebook, Instagram ads to promote the program and get, you know, continue being more active every day on Instagram, which is where my customers are. About it, write my list about it, but is there anything I'm missing? Like, can I maybe put up some posters in my neighborhood? I mean, I'm willing to go all out.
Hey, tell us what the course is about, and what I'm most curious about also in relation to that is the actual webinar. So what's the course about, and then tell us about the webinar.
So the course doesn't have a name yet, which has been a huge struggle for me, but I've been helping people for a long time. And I noticed last year that every time I help people, we go through the same 4 steps, right? And it's pretty much like the 4 steps to make change, but change that's actually sustainable and where you don't end up like back in your old habits a week later, a month later, whenever it is. And so it's like change that doesn't disappoint you. And so I was like, I realized that when most people go to make change, they get aware of the change they want to make, and then they take action on it, and they're missing those 2 steps in the middle. So the course is an expansion of that, and it's every single participant gets to choose a project at the beginning. And then throughout the 6 weeks, we're going to go through each step together. So they'll not only get to learn about each step, they'll get to actively put that step and implement into their life. And then we're going to do Q&A calls so they can ask questions. We can all work on their things together. And then by the end, everyone will have actually made like a full circle change in their life. Mm-hmm. So that's what the course is about.
Okay, good. What's the webinar?
So the webinar is 5 secrets of sparkly, happy, successful people, which are people who know the 4 steps of change, but it's pretty much 5 big, it's like mindset secrets and ways of perspective and like realities of things, like the way that things work in their life, and that the sparkly, you know, when I say like sparkly, happy, successful people, we all have someone that pops into our brain, whether it's someone we know or it's a celebrity or what have you. And the idea that those people are born special or there's something they know that none of us know is kind of true, but it's all accessible to everybody. And it's just a matter of knowing those secrets, knowing those mindset things, knowing that information, that they implement in their life that takes them to that level, right? It's not that they're at a level that we can't get to in our own life. And we don't have to feel bad and say, well, I'm not special like them. I'm not as smart as them. I'm not as good as them. That's really not the truth. Everyone experiences all the hard emotions and bad days, no matter how fancy or successful they are. So the class is really just fun, and it's about teaching those, like, some of those secrets to people, really straightforward, and helping them, like, open their mind to knowing that, like, that's available to them, and how and why, and, like, what the changes are.
Wait, is there any specific demographic you want to teach this to? Is it entrepreneurs? Like, who is this?
The specific demographic is people who it's people who are having a hard time, who generally, like, go to Google to ask for advice, or go to their friends who are in the same exact situation to ask for advice, and people who are ready to, like, make that change. They have to, on some level, believe that they are capable of making a change in their life. Mm-hmm. It's more of a world belief demographic and less of a physical demographic, like age and place. But from what I've seen, it ranges, it's men and women, and it ranges from, like, age, usually it goes from, like, 28 to, like, 45. That's the age range that I get.
What's your current list size right now?
Tiny.
How tiny?
Like 22 people.
All right. Dodier, you there? Because I'm curious about, like, who does she target for Facebook?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I have a cold, so my voice is going to sound very strange. I apologize for that.
I hope you feel better. I think my only concern with what Quinn's doing is, like, kind of like the general idea of it, and she doesn't really have a list of her own that's following her. With your experience with Facebook groups or Facebook ads, I should say, is she going to have trouble running that ad and getting people to, like, targeting people with that ad, I should say?
Well, in my opinion, yes, because one of the benefit of Facebook ad is to be able to be very narrow focus, so that your message and your graphic ignite people to want to click in. So if you don't have that to start with, then the Facebook ad will not connect with people, and you'll have either a very expensive click-through or no click-through at all.
Yeah, I do have good data on my Instagram followers, and a huge majority of them follow the same pattern. They're a pretty specific demographic. They're like health and wellness. Some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them are MLM. But a lot of, like, adventurers, explorers, entrepreneurs, people who travel a lot. And they're all interested in some element of health and wellness. They all are trying to strive to, like, improve their lives every day. And that's very common thread in, like, over, like, 85% of my Instagram followers, who, like, are not just, like, follow to follower running games, but who are actually, like, following me long term.
So based on how Facebook ads function, one of the kind of the main trigger at the beginning when you start narrowing down, it's like basic things like sex, age, and interests. Okay. Your interests that you've outlined now are like 5 big different categories. Entrepreneur is like one huge category. And then you've got, for example, digital nomad, which is a whole other big category. You would need to narrow it down even further.
Okay.
If I can say one more thing, Sean, if you allow. When you market your course, if the marketing message, the copy, is not specific and not broad, too broad, people won't tend to not connect with your message. Have you considered that angle as well?
Yeah, definitely. The ad for the free class is super simple. It's like 2 sentences. It's very direct. It's very clear. It's like something for free. You want it or you don't want it. And then the program page I'm still working on now, but I'm really trying to unsell as many people as possible and make it as specific as I can, so that I get people who really want to be there and who really would benefit from it. Otherwise, I feel like it's just a bunch of refunds.
Exactly. What is if you were to say to me in one sentence, what's the problem you're trying to fix? What would you say?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a really hard, like, in my head, I know all the answers, but I'm having a really hard time communicating those answers in a specific way. It's kind of like, when I help people with their businesses, it's easy for me to get those clear answers because I'm an outsider looking in. So it's like, oh, well, this is about that. But when you look at your own stuff, it can be a lot harder because there's so much. and then to say, oh, this is what the thing is, this is what the specific thing is. So I have like a marketing professional that helps me hone that stuff down. And so I'm hoping that they really come through on this one.
Yeah, I would say to you, before you start spending any money,
Yeah.
I would get that figured out first with a brainstorming session or a professional, whatever, who's going to help you before you spend any money. That would be my answer.
And Stephanie, how much is your usual like spending budget for something like this? Like for a bigger size webinar course stuff, like what do you go for?
It's all relative to how much the product is.
Okay.
So if the product, for an example, my biggest product is $8.97, and to be honest, I've had a really hard time selling it via webinar.
Okay.
So for an example, if I know that my return will be $8.97, I'm perhaps willing to pay $10 per leads, but then the issue becomes the conversion on the webinar.
Yeah, which is about like 10%.
Usually runs about 5%.
Okay.
So then I have to run that formula, and I realize I have to spend probably like $200 per customer to get them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then that really, really changes things.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting at $4.97. So because it's the first time.
Yeah, I think it's a good entry price.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome, sister.
Hey, Quinn, when the question was, what do you do in one sentence? I mean,
Yeah.
I hear you help people be effective making change or make change effectively.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the kind of one sentence, Sean, that you were asking, but that's what I hear is you help people.
I think the word people is just too general. I feel like
Sure.
you niche it into entrepreneurs or, for example, Money Mind Academy sells really well in January. When people are like really focusing on their money goals, doesn't sell really well in the summer. And so I'm tinkering around with health coaches right now. Pretty much the same content, but geared toward what they're going through. And so I would definitely start thinking about like, who do you want to help specifically? Is it business consultants? Is it accountants? My friend Michelle had kind of a wide-ranging general sales program that she was selling, and she decided, okay, this is a little bit too general. I'm not really feeling it. The response hasn't been as great as I wanted it to be, and now it's the abundant accountant. So now she teaches sales to accountants, and she does really well with that. She sells like a $15,000 program, and they buy it. And so I would say, as Stephanie said, really hone in on exactly who you want to help.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I've helped a lot of people live, like one-on-one, not on the internet. And they're men and women, but they fall into a category of like 25 to 30, 23 to 30, that kind of age range of people who are like figuring out how they want the rest of their life to be, like you've been partying for a while and you're like, okay, wait a minute, I've got to do something real now.
Yeah, but the only thing about that 25 to 30 group is that they don't have a lot of expendable money for a $497 course.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, but even, I mean, you want that group to be bigger than that. You really want there to be a significant pain. There has to be a significant pain for somebody to want to part with $497.
Yeah, I mean, where I live, the average income of people between the ages of like 27 and 35 is $300,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the money. And then some of the people I've worked with, that was like 2, 3, 4 years ago, they've maintained those changes throughout. So it's like, I know that it works.
Well, who are those people? Like, what do they do?
They're corporate people. They're business people. They're marketers, advertisers, salespeople, managers. They work in corporate America. I mean, here specifically in DC, they might work for the government, but they're on government contracts through a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So they're usually suits.
Okay. So why doesn't that become your demographic that you want to help online?
Maybe it should be.
There you go.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah. I would give some serious thought to that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, that's going to be a group that you can certainly hone on or target in on much more than what we were talking about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
And you already know they have money. You already know that they're receptive to the message. You've already worked with them. you know, and so you can speak their language. Because if you bring in all these people who are from different categories, you're trying to, they all speak different languages. You know, they all have different troubles and problems and things like that. They all need help with something different. And it's so much easier, you know, when you can just speak one language to one group.
Yeah, and they have a lot of expendable income, and they do use it to try to improve their life, but they still struggle on the inside stuff, you know? They still really struggle. They're not happy. They have the clothes and the fancy memberships and all that stuff. That's where I find people, but they are not happy. They're not having a good time. And, you know.
So you might want to target people who follow like Grant Cardone or Ty Lopez, like those guys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Thank you, Stephanie and Sarah and everybody.
No problem. No.
So I have a question about Quinn was starting out by, then this is Dr. Sarah. Quinn was starting out by talking about the characteristics of her people, like they are like striving or they're ready to, you know, make change. And Sean, the very last thing I heard you say is maybe one way you target them is who they might follow. So if I want people interested in mindset, if I target followers of Sean Croxton, I'm going to get mindset people, even though I might not be targeting, like Quinn was mentioning, government workers or, you know, government contractors. So if I want a characteristic of a person, but not a, let's call it a career subgroup, like health coaches. If I don't care whether you're a health coach or not, but I do care, as Quinn was saying, that you're ready to pick your direction and be effective. Are you saying I can do that by saying who else would they follow who preaches effectiveness and change?
Yeah, that would be one of the questions, like when you're doing an ideal client avatar. That is certainly going to be a factor in it. Like, who are they following? Because you have to find out, like, which pool are they swimming in? You know, because you have to be able to kind of target exactly who that person is. And they read certain books and they go to certain events, but they also follow certain people. And so if you do have a program that is geared toward a follower of Grant Cardone or Ty Lopez or something like that, you can target them with your Facebook ad to get them to go to your webinar or whatever funnel that you have set up. And so it's just one factor that comes into play when it comes to targeting.
And is that effective?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Totally effective.
Okay. So if I don't hone in on, you know, let's just say, for an example, health coaches, I can hone in on people who love the message of these three people or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's so helpful. That excuse me, that really broadens things a lot. So Quinn, for you, I'm just curious, do you know who your ideal client follows? Do you know who in that way, do you know who they are?
Now thinking about the corporate people, yes, I do know who they follow. They follow all the people that live the life that they wish they were living, that they're trying to live with all of their stuff. Like they follow the Kardashians, they follow that kind of like big media culture, sparkly stuff. They buy their products. They hope that all these things will magically make them like those people. That's who they follow. When I think about the other side, like the more mindset, health, and wellness people, they're following, you know, like the medical medium, they're following Byron Katie, they're following Gwyneth Paltrow, they're following Goop, they're following sort of that industry of wellness culture. Yeah.
So for you, Dr. Sarah, like a Dr. John Gottman.
Oh, totally. I mean, Gottman, yeah, like that's, yes.
You want his people to see your ads, for sure.
Yes, that's an absolute guarantee. Mm-hmm. I also, I'm thinking people who watch Queer Eye. Queer Eye is all about inspiration, caring, love, you know, coming together to make change. And I think in a relationship, people want that feeling as well. So that's like a different spin. Like if you like Gottman and Queer Eye, you know, or Gottman and, you know, anyway, but yes, Gottman is going to be included in any targeted advertising I do, for sure. You're right.
Cool.
Thanks,
Dr. Sarah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Tamara. What's up?
All right. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, good. Thanks. I'm doing this on my phone. It's tricky. One thing for Quinn, and then I just want to pass something that's on my mind through and see what the general feedback from the group is. So Quinn, if you've already got a really good handle on your Instagram, you could potentially do your beta without doing Facebook ads. It's a beast, Facebook, and it's gotten a little bit more. You need to be a little bit more creative and artistic on the Facebook ad side now. But if you've already got people on Instagram, you can do stories and chat at them in leading up to, start talking about the things that they want to hear and see how many of those people just say yes and opt in. You might actually find it a lot easier than you think. So it's just something that's bubbling up. My question. So I have experience as a florist, a lot of years and years and years of experience as a florist, and I've been wanting to teach for so long that there never used to be anybody teaching online in this space. And then I don't know, chicken shitted out until now. All these people are out there doing really awesome things. And so I'm like, okay, so what defines me in this space? And my most recent inspiration was to do things 100% different than everybody else. And it seems like a good idea, but I'm also like, eek, okay, it might not be. So as I'm talking, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm thinking of going from the angle, I want to, in the floral business, the challenge is there's a lot of women who came into it wanting to do creative things, wanting to make art, and it's really beautiful, with zero or very little sense of how to do a business out of it. And I had a lot of success with that because I love business and marketing and sales and everything around that. So I wanted to teach that side of it, but from the angle of, here are my stories from the trenches. Here's the scar that I got that time I fell on my face. And here's a bullet hole from this time. And just like really, but it's, I almost fear that it's like too far into the unprofessional, like you did what? But telling stories about all the shit that happened to me and other florists so that people can go like, oh gosh, I didn't realize, or oh, this is how you get out of that, with the lessons then attached to, instead of just trying to regurgitate business concepts. But it's going to be rough and a little bit like just less put together, way less put together than what's out there, because everything's put together in the floral industry. Anybody got like, that's a terrible idea, or you maybe refine it this way, thoughts for me?
I want to make sure I understand what it is that your end customer wants.
Probably what they think they want and what they need are two different things, right?
What they think they want. So yeah.
Right. So what they think they want is sales, right? Everybody, oh, if I just had more money, if I just had more customers. But on the other side of it, the need is probably a lot more like managing client expectations, figuring out your profit structure so that you actually make money when you get hired by that person. And there's a lot of like I think they want confidence, really. There's a lot of behind the scenes, like, oh, did I do that okay? Was that good enough? Like, how is this? There's a lot of uncertainty and lack of confidence in running their businesses because they're creative types. They can show up at the design table and rock it, but when it comes to like getting customers and handling customers and all that sort of stuff, they're kind of feeling uncomfortable the whole time.
They would feel more confident if they what? I would feel more confident if
I think they think if they knew more about business. I'll feel more confident if I know more about business. I think that's there.
Mm-hmm. Are there already people who do this, who teach business to florists?
There are a couple. One teaches how to do like high-end wedding sales, which is definitely a specialty thing and not for everybody. And then so there's somebody that teaches the proper profit markup and websites. And then I think everybody else kind of wraps some business stuff in with design teaching.
Okay.
But nobody's saying like, I fell on my face, here's the story of when, which I'm like, is that too messy?
I don't think it's too messy. I think, you know, a story is great. Like, it's very relatable and it gets people to know who you are. How big is this audience? Like, are there any huge florist pages on Instagram or Facebook? I'm not familiar with the space myself.
Yeah, there's a lot of forums with, I think 20 to 100,000.
Okay. Okay, cool. Anybody want to add anything? Anybody? Okay. So right now, what are you doing for these people? Are you creating content for them at all?
No, that's how I thought I would start. I thought I would like really take a page out of your book. So just start telling stories on YouTube. But like just putting a video out and telling stories on YouTube and telling stories on YouTube and then starting to like, I'll start an offer with something live. Like it won't be like a pre-recorded anything because I'm more of a seat of my pants kind of thing person.
Right. I think what you might want to just focus on is creating content for this group and getting to know what this group wants and what they need and getting, you know, earning that knowing, like, and trusting them. And you might not, and I'd encourage it to not all be stories, you know, about how you fell on your face and stuff like that. I would just teach them, you know, how to set up the proper profit structure, you know, just make a video out of that. Like, what are the things that your target avatar just really needs to learn about, you know? And I would just make stuff about that and just see if there's a really viable audience there who actually wants you to create a program out of it. Also, I will look into floral conferences as well and start speaking at those type of events to get your name out there and to get people to sign up for your programs. I know it's uncomfortable, but there's got to be like a Toastmasters or something in your area. You can start to hone in on your public speaking as well. But I wouldn't, at this moment, really focus on the product itself.
No.
Focus on just helping those people through Instagram and also through YouTube and also building up your email list. And so if there was some type of, I don't know,
I've got
a little 7-page freebie that you can put together for them.
I think, I've got something I can do for that. There's this recipe I invented for how to get the sap off your hands, and every florist really needs to know how to do this. So
there you go.
Yeah,
that'll be great. That'd also be a really good YouTube video. That would also be a really good YouTube video at some point. But anybody else?
Yeah.
Hold on. You have your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi everyone. So I actually do catering and design, and I have some friends that do floral design. A couple of them are a little bit newer. They really don't know the business side, so I think it's a great idea. I actually just did a floral workshop about 2 months ago, and this lady really has it down. She has a huge following. She does beautiful work. She does a ton of stories. She does workshops, and what she did was she talks a lot on her stories, and she gets you really engaged with her. She did a workshop at her house. She did a yoga session. She's a yoga teacher, and then she showed us how to make floral design. And I think she charged around that time $200 for the day. And I think she just raised her prices. She was in San Diego, but to like $400 per person. So there are people out there that will pay to do these workshops, and I think it's a great idea because for someone like me, I design food, but I realized I can design flowers. So, you know, for me, I would probably look into something like that because I'm not just going to be selling food and design. I'm starting to sell a whole structure of florals and rentals and everything like that. But there are people out there that pay for those workshops from the creative side. So I think it's a great idea. Eventually you hone it down.
Yeah, I'd love to. I haven't figured out who the people are that pay for those workshops at like $400 a pop.
Yeah.
I've taught so many, but under 100.
She has a huge following. I think she's up to like 25,000 people. She's grown by 15,000 in the last 5 months. But she does a lot of poem writing and just really engaged with her audience. And so I'm sure that if you want to connect, I can tell you who it is, and you can start following her where she does things. But I also have friends who are floral designers, and they are so scared to go out and get the business, and
Petrified.
One of them did my bouquet for my wedding. It was beautiful, and she still needs that push of, you can do this. So there are people out there that need it.
Who is this, Lavon?
So it's actually a couple of people that I knew in San Diego, but they're younger, they're just starting out, they do floral design, and they just they're not confident enough.
Well,
they'll do something, but they're not confident.
The person you were talking about who's grown their following, who was that?
Her name is Nectar and Bloom.
Nectar and Bloom?
I'll find it.
Yeah, I can type it in the chat. I can look on my Instagram and get her handle, but she does beautiful work. And I was actually going to try to do a workshop with her, not a workshop, but a Valentine's package when I was still living in San Diego. And it was hard for me to do the sales for my food and her florals, and so I didn't sell any tickets for the package. But there are people that, need that type of service.
Yeah, for sure.
You just have to find them. So it's
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll write it in the chat. I'll look on my Instagram and see exactly what her handle is, and so that you can start kind of seeing how she does things. She's doing a workshop in Norway this week, so she's got it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Lavon. There's some good stuff for you in the chat, Tamara.
Okay.
Also, let's go into the petrified part, because you have had this idea for a long time before anybody was doing it, and I think we all know how that is. Time passes, and next thing you know, you're like, holy shit, 7 years have passed and I have this idea. I haven't done it. What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, what keeps you from doing it? Because we can talk about target audience and all that stuff all day. Yeah, and I think you already know who your target audience is.
Oh shit. I think I am scared of. I have this being seen, but then being judged. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the rough around the edges part, I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a lot to judge me on. But then again, I'm like, you know what? I will own all of those lessons. I rocked it in my business. And so maybe being judged.
Mm-hmm. And being judged is going to happen.
Yeah, right?
no matter how positive it might be, there's always somebody who's going to feel triggered by whatever you do. And we just can't let those folks stop us from, doing what we want to do. And I know, and you probably heard me say it before, there are no magic words. You know what I'm saying? And if you hear the magic words, it's probably going to pump you up for a few hours, maybe a couple of days, and you're probably going to go right back to, where you've been for a long time. It's just really about just fucking doing it, Seriously. Yeah. And you've heard the Daring Greatly, Brene
Brown speech.
Yeah. Yeah. Women in the arena. That's really how you can be. And it's just the people who criticize and condemn, that's just their own stuff. You can't let small-minded people keep you from doing big things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so just got to go. Go ahead, Quinn. I see you.
They're going to judge you anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get judged a lot.
Or somebody else.
Right? And here's the thing. If they're going to judge you anyway, you might as well have a good time, right? You might as well be judged for something that you can stand behind and be like, okay, that's fine, but I still like doing things this way. This is how I want to do things. Don't throw away all the feedback I get. Feedback is important, right? Sometimes people are trying to help you, or they're scared for you, or someone has valid insight into something in your life. But I do understand that most people are coming from a place of pain that's about them, not about me, right? And I'm not gonna shrink down and hide because I'm scared of what I think somebody might think in the future. That's a lot of guessing, you know? That's a lot of fear. That's a lot of nothing that's not real. You're real. This is your life right now, right? So have a good freaking time. And then if someone's like, this is horrible, you're stupid, this is a bad business, you shouldn't wear your hair like that, like, okay, but you love it, and so you can stand up for it. Whereas if you smush yourself to do something kind of halfway that you think is safe, you won't be able to stand up for it. And then when the judgment comes, you won't be able to handle it. Does that make sense? When you do things you really believe in from your heart, it's so much easier to handle the judgment that comes in, because it's coming anyway. When you're brave, people judge you, and that's okay. It's also a sign that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make people feel uncomfortable. People feel uncomfortable when they see other people shining. It's just the way it is. I mean, even yesterday in our Money Mind Academy group, in a super safe place, very super supportive, and people shared their 5-year visions. It made people feel uncomfortable in that room. You know what I'm saying? And so you're always going to be uncomfortable by what you're saying, what you do, and there's no way that you're ever going to change it. There's never going to be a day when that disappears. Jesus got hated on. It just goes way back. And so it's never going to go away. And over time, like, I'm not going to say that it's easy, because a lot of people will say, well, don't worry about it. Oh, it's just people talking. And I've done the same as well. However, this shit stings. Nobody likes to read anything negative about themselves, but it's just all like the way you look at it. And it's also just, when it continues to happen over and over and over and over and over again, you kind of start to build up a thicker skin to it. And it doesn't really hit you the way that it used to. And there's probably some emails that people have sent me over the years, and I've sent really mean emails back, and it's still every once in a while it happens, but 99% of the time I read like 3 sentences of the email, and then I delete it, and then I go into my trash folder and I delete it again. So I don't even have to look at it. And I just keep moving. And that's just the truth of it. It stings, but you don't die.
That's the thing. Like, why are we so goddamn scared of feelings? They're just feelings.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to feel rejected, But
that's my Achilles.
If you accept yourself, right? Other people's rejections don't matter that much. It's that part of your mind that, like, it's okay to be me. It's safe to be me. I have permission to do what I want to do, right? And whose judgment is really important to you? Sean, what was that? I remember there was something someone brought up, maybe it was Martha Beck, and she says, who's your everyone, right? Yeah. When you think of everyone's going to judge me, everyone's going to come at me, it's probably like 1 to 3 people in your mind that pop up, who you're worried about. It's not really everyone. The world is pretty full of nice people trying to do a good job in their life, right? Mm-hmm. Not everyone.
Yeah. It's all about where you put your focus. Like we talked about, maybe lesson 2 or 3 of Money Mind Academy. It's all where your attention is. When I was on YouTube, my attention was on all of the negative haters, and I just missed 97 out of 100 positive comments. And I want to change those 3 people who say bad things about me. It's just ridiculous. And people will be the way people will be. As long as you're out there helping people, I really don't think it matters. It stings a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And also sometimes the people who are talking shit about you online are like 12-year-olds, or they're depressed people, or they're going through stuff and they're just lashing out. And you don't really know what it is that they're going through. And, all you can really have for them is like compassion. And that's one of the ways I like to think of it. And you may have heard me say it before. It's like, I've never been in such a bad place in my life where I felt like I needed to go online and talk shit about people, like, ever. And so if somebody's doing that, I can only imagine what they're going through. That kind of sucks,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the piece for you. All of this other stuff is just us bumping our gums about target audiences and messages and things like that. But what we're really talking about is like having courage, being self-assertive, having courage, and just doing it anyway. And the magic words aren't there. It's just all about you turning on the camera or, the microphone or whatever it is and actually doing it.
Yeah. Doing it.
All right. So there's an accountability post right there at the top of the Money Mind Academy Facebook page. And maybe you can post a little something by next Friday. I'm going to whatever it might be. And then we'll follow up with you going to be on the Friday call next week? Do you ever make it to the Friday?
I don't make any of the calls. No, I won't be there.
Okay. Well, then I'll expect to maybe see some evidence that you followed through on your accountability. And if you don't, then on Friday's call, when the replay, we'll all be talking shit about you. Perfect.
You'll judge me.
No, we'll be there encouraging you, hoping that you'll get it done the next week. But we do want you to get it done. Because once you do it once, I always say it's like jumping into the pool. Once you do it once, you're like, oh, I did it. And then you're like, shit, like I could have been doing this for 7 years and I would have like 200,000 followers by now.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think that's why I want to do YouTube like over Instagram or anything like that, is because there's comment feedback and it's all strangers and and rather the strangers than my family or my friends watching me as I like stumble to get up. It's going to be awkward like a baby fawn, but that's okay. Once I'm standing, they can watch. But until then, they would just hang out on YouTube and not read the comments.
Yes, you got this. So hopefully,
thank you.
I'll see your accountability post in a little bit.
Okay, done.
Right, hey, Tam, did you have something to say? There you go.
So this is a question. I need some feedback, opinions, all that good stuff. So I am on team doing too much, and I am on team when then, as in when this happens, then I'll do this. And what I find is that I'm just spinning my wheels because I have so many projects that I probably need to chunk down and just pick one thing and roll that out and then go with the next. And no matter what I read, like I've read the book, The One, like I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm having a hard time actually just saying, okay, pick this one thing, roll that out and move on to the next thing. So to give you guys a little bit of background of what I have going on. So I've mentioned it before. I used to run a small business with one of my clients who's an Emmy Award-winning makeup artist. And we build a community of makeup artists, beauty enthusiasts, some wardrobe stylists, some photographers. Community has probably about 150,000 people in it. And then we just abandoned it. We used to do workshops, but one day we just were like, we don't want to do it. So I've been active and I have plans to switch it over to a company called, or to a different brand called Sincerely Her. I have not made the switch. So I know everything that I want to do. I have a Trello board with everything out. I've actually started building some of the components of it, but I just can't seem to roll it out. So bear with me. I'm going to put it all together. So that's Sincerely Her. So the other component is I want to teach classes, and the name of it is called Brand and Win. So it's pretty much find clarity, brand and win for creatives. And creatives for me are hair, makeup, wardrobe, photographers. So the thought is that I would use the existing audience that I have with Sincerely Her. Well, it's still Makeup Artists Meet at this point, and use them and market to them, or not use them. That sounded a little nasty, but you understand what I'm saying, market to them. So here's the plans that I have. And if you, Quinn, anybody out there can kind of guide me and give me your opinion in terms of what you think I should roll out first. So with Sincerely Her, what I would like it to be is a podcast, which is more so an extension of TAM, my own brand, and a newsletter. So with the podcast, and like I said, I start everything. I just haven't finished the podcast. Like I have 2 episodes in. I have so many contacts. Everybody keeps asking me, yo, when are we going to record the podcast? So I did the first one with she's like my big sister. She's the director or VP of artistry over at Smashbox. So I can come out the gate with all these heavy hitters, but for whatever reason, I just can't seem to roll it out. So Sincerely Her is supposed to be a podcast, newsletter, and then eventually workshops. Brand and Win is supposed to be my classes on how to brand and win, and then eventually an app. And then the podcast I thought can function for both brand and win as well as Sincerely Her, because the plan is that I would interview people on the podcast that are in the industry, whether it's the director of artistry at Smashbox or, my friend Glenda, who is a VP of social media over at Sexy Hair Concept. And the plan was to interview them about their career, but also ask them, thoughts about their branding. So that way the podcast can serve as both. So my question and my opinion is like, I have everything, like say if it was on a scale of 1 to 10, everything is at a 7. I can build websites. I pretty much know everything about, well, not everything, but I know more than most about social media. I know a lot about everything, but I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels and I'm stuck because I get to 7 and I just can't go to 10, which is the launch. And a lot of it is because I think I'm not sure what I should be doing first. And then too, like I said, to wrap it up, it's that existing audience that, I haven't really did much with them. I will occasionally go on to Instagram. Like I signed on today. I had like 100 people had tagged me in photos, but it's been about 2 or 3 years where, once a month I may post something, but they're just there. And the same thing with the Facebook, the Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and the newsletter, which I mentioned in some of the MMA sessions. I think I have about 5,000 people, but I've not sent them any emails. So my question is, what do you guys think I should do first? I know I'm team doing too much, but what's the plan?
I have a question, Tam. This is Dr. Sarah.
Hi.
I heard you say that you and your partner abandoned your group a few years ago, and now you're reapproaching it. And I'm just wondering, is there residual feelings in you of not wanting to do that? Like, is there a part of you that actually is still undecided that you want to move ahead in this direction, these directions?
Well, the thing is that I didn't necessarily want to abandon the group. What happened was that he works with a lot of celebrities, and he is how he feels when he wakes up in the morning. So we planned to do a workshop. We did 4 successful workshops. We planned a big workshop in Mexico, and people were a little slow to sign up. And we pulled out like Beyonce's makeup artist. We had some big dogs. So I think he was a little bit embarrassed, but also you just got to know how he is. He's not capable of anything business-wise. So for me, all the business was on my shoulders. Now, here's the problem is like, I'm trying to run that business, but I also have my own management company that I'm running. And then in between time, sometimes I'm at a corporate job and then I'm taking on smaller projects. And then more importantly, and not to just get personal, I'm the go-to for everybody. Everybody calls me for something, to the point where in the last couple of months, I had to say, you know what, I have to stop responding. Like, perfect example, a friend of mine, I vetted an assistant for him. He has a simple question, but instead of him asking me, he has the assistant emailing me, and I feel a little like, how dare you have your assistant email me about something regarding Mercedes when the Mercedes that you drive is because it's my connection that got you the car. He wants a connection at Mercedes. My thing is like, call the connection that I already gave you. Why is your assistant calling me? So I'm dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff. But over the last month or two, I've kind of learned to shut down and just not deal with other people's problems. Because my thing is like, you guys should Google. I Google everything. Find the answer yourself. I don't understand. So I noticed too, not to be personal, I have an intolerance for lack of common sense. So it kind of makes me a little not so nice because I just don't understand why can't people Google things. Everything you need is at Google. So in any event, so saying all I have to say, that's kind of where I am. So I don't necessarily have any resentment. I think it's more so I felt that if I launch it, that's one more thing I got to deal with. So that's the big issue. But it's the one thing I really want to do. So
if you were to, so when you launch this podcast, and how successful do you know it's going to be?
I'm not sure, but I have a NASCAR podcast. And so I think I have mentally some reservations because with my NASCAR podcast, I hit a good stride the first 2 or 3 years because now I'm in my 4th year. But my business, well, he's not even my partner. He's my co-host. He does absolutely nothing. Like he doesn't even prepare. Sometimes he doesn't even watch the races. So my mentee who actually works at MRN, Motor Racing Network, he's come on this year to kind of help me balance it out. And then the hopes were that we would get the podcast picked up by MRN. So I can't really, I don't think it's going to fail because I don't feel like that, but I don't know if it's too much work for me to be successful.
Yeah, from my experience, well, number one, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I feel also, as you know, you have to do a better job of like setting boundaries. This is what I do and this is what I don't want to do. We'll go to you in a second, Quinn. I know with me, for a very long period, I had a major issue with people and nonsense. Like, I wrote an email the other day. I like social media, but when people ask me like, what's that book about? Like, motherfucker, there's an Amazon and there's a Google. Well, how is this hard? And stuff like that happens every single day. And I say to myself, and maybe I say to myself consciously, but I also feel like there's a lot of subconscious stuff there as well, is if I blow up and have 1 million followers, I'm going to have to deal with more of this shit, more of these stupid people. You know what I'm saying? And it just it's almost like a conflict. And so this is one of the things that a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot of, some of us run into. It's like, if I become bigger than I already am, if this becomes a big success, am I going to have to deal with more stupid people? And so I just want to throw that out because I know for me that has been a stumbling block. Let's go to Quinn.
So first, Tammy, healthy boundaries. I say this from a place of someone who did not have healthy boundaries last year. And it's all those feelings of resentment and anger and annoyance with other people, right? Because you've taught all those people to be that way in your life. You've taught them to go to you instead of Google. You've made it too easy for them to take advantage of you and to say, oh, Tammy's like, oh, when probably the first time one of those people asked you a question, you were like, oh, no problem, no big deal, let me do that for you. You're too accommodating, right? And now you have to start saying no to people. You have to start being more direct with people about what's acceptable and what's not. And it's awkward at first, but it gets easier over time. The other thing, Sean, you gotta say.
What's that?
I said, it looks like you had something to say.
Oh, no, I was just scratching the back of my head. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the healthy boundaries is huge, right? And as you do it, you'll start getting evidence of how great it is that you're doing it. Those people will come to you less. The people who are going to be respectful of your new boundaries are going to be coming to you more, right? And the thing about doing all these different things, you've got so many business things going on, right? But where's the money?
Well, see, that's the big thing too, because it's been extremely slow for my management company. So I feel like it's time to make a change. Like I had my management company since 2005. So what is this, 2019? So that's 14 years. Over the years, one of my close girlfriends, she would always say, well, why don't you let that go and do the things that you want to do? Well, it's really what I want to do. It's just that I got tired of dealing with people in terms of like when you manage people, you're a mother, sister, psychiatrist, you're everything. So it became a thing where, I niched down. I had 2 or 3 clients that were working, 3 actually all on the same show. So it was just easy. But now nobody's really working. So it's like, as they're not working, that means I'm not getting any commission. So I said, well, now I have time to work on the projects that I want to work on. But like I said, I'm in this spin wheel thing. I think sometimes when you know how to do everything, it's stifling because you don't know what to do. And then because I think all my ideals are great and they all fit and go in a great pattern, but it's like, okay, what to roll out first? Like going back to your question, Sean, about the podcast, I was like, okay, the first 3 guests will probably be all people that have worked at Smashbox. Smashbox has given me money in the past for some workshops that I've done. So I was like, well, maybe I can get a check from Smashbox to roll it out. But the thing is, now we're going into July. So, if you guys know anything about business, it's the calendar year, the physical year, there's budgets, you got to get that stuff in. So I feel like I'm just, clicking my heels 3 times and nothing's happening because I'm not able, like, I'm almost like, like I said, it's the when then. It's always like, okay, well, when this happens, then I'll do that. And I cannot continue like that. Like I need to do something.
Tim, do you have a team that you delegate to?
So occasionally I work with an assistant, but I haven't had much to give to her because it's really, I can't delegate to her until I can explain it. And the problem with that is sometimes I feel like about time I explain it, I could have just did it.
Tam, if all these people asking you for things were paying you fairly, if to call you up and ask you a question costs $50.
Well, I'm through 50 an hour. Look.
Wouldn't you feel differently though, right? About all of these things happening?
Well, I've pretty much eliminated most of the people from calling me because I just started ignoring people. So people, for the most part, no, I have like 1 or 2 people that are still asking me things. Like, in fact, yesterday, a friend of mine, he sent me an email and was like, yeah, I want you to listen to my friend's DJ set and see if you can help him out.
Ignoring people is still that's not a healthy boundary, because ignoring people is 1, you running away, right? And 2, it's not making it clear to them what's happening. Ignoring people could mean you're on vacation, you're in a coma, you lost your mind, you decide, you haven't checked your email in a month. It doesn't tell them how is acceptable to treat you.
I'm not confrontational, so.
Did you hear about the memo that Steve Harvey wrote about a year ago?
Yeah, where he was like, don't talk to him.
Basically said, don't talk to me. Don't be knocking on my door asking for stuff. Steve Harvey's doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shows. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time for your problems. I can't fix everything. Wendy Williams, she was on the Howard Stern show, and she talked about, she kind of does something similar. Like, you're not allowed to ride in the elevator with Wendy Williams. She just needs that time on the elevators to be around nobody. So you need your space. You need to set those healthy boundaries. Before I go to Stephanie and Tamara, I do want to talk about like simplifying the business. Because it sounds like you have a lot of stuff going on. First question for you is, do you have access to, I think you said those 150,000 followers from the thing that you had going on with the guy?
Yeah.
Okay. When
it's
was
all mine. He doesn't.
What's that?
Oh, it's all mine now. He doesn't.
Okay. When was the last time you contacted them?
The followers?
Yeah, the followers.
I haven't sent an email probably in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the Instagram, I do, like I said, once a month, I'll jump on Insta stories, or I haven't posted anything to the actual Instagram in a couple of months. And then the same thing with Facebook. I think it was for the Oscars. Like I did a whole, what do you think of hair and makeup type stuff for, stuff like that on Facebook and Twitter. So that it was, people were responsive, but not like it used to be.
Right. And that 150, that's 150,000 person email list.
Oh no, the email list is only 5,000. The 150 is just across all social platforms.
Okay, so 5,000. When was the last time? So it's been 3 years since you contacted the 5,000 via email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's great that you have 150,000 people there that you could connect with who are familiar with you. One of the difficult things about having a podcast, especially when you're first starting, is not having a following at all. Your podcast just kind of gets lost. iTunes doesn't really recognize it. You don't really get any push. You don't get in the new and noteworthy or new and notable, whatever it's called, new and noteworthy section. And so utilizing those 150,000 followers to make them aware of your podcast is going to be a really big deal for you. That's huge. That's just a huge step right there. And through the podcast, since you are interviewing very credible experts that people that your target customers are familiar with and want to be more like, why don't you just do one of two things or both? Sell them a live brand and win seminar quarterly, or just put that into an online course. And you just maybe run it live once, and then after that, go ahead and start just making it a home study program where it's pre-recorded. And I think that will do really well. I was watching an interview a couple of weeks ago with Danielle Leslie, who teaches courses about how to create a course. And she's killing it with her business. Like, she just did it live, maybe once or twice, and now she just does a live weekly webinar to sell the pre-recorded course. And if these people want to be able to brand themselves the way that you've been able to brand yourself and the way that the guests on your show have been able to brand themselves, then I don't think you'll have much of a problem getting people to a weekly webinar to sell the pre-recorded version of that course. And I think that is the simplest way to do it. I try to simplify everything I do. Podcast, here's a course, here's a list of people to promote it to. That's it. That's all I want to do. And so I think sometimes as business people, we tend to complicate things too much. And we got too many like fires going. And it's okay to have fires going, but to have all the different things going on, have all the different businesses, you have to have teams for the different businesses. And when it's on you and you're trying to run in 5 different directions at the same time, you know what happens. You really don't go anywhere.
Yes.
And so it's just all about deciding like, okay, I've been in this there's probably a little bit of emotional addiction going on that we've talked about. You've been doing this for such a long time, you might not know how not to do that. And so it's just about being like consciously aware, like, I got to slow down. I have to set my boundaries. I got to figure out a very simple thing to do and stick with that. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I just kind of need to move forward. And then my other question, and this is a brief one. So in terms of the branding, which kind of similar to Quinn, like I can help everybody else, but sometimes when it's you, you're like, what? So I'm going to change the name. And I already have the rollout, how I want to do it. Everything's logos, everything's already done. With the podcast, one of the things was, I said, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm not establishing myself as the expert, because, you know, when you interview so many people, people don't look to you as the expert because they think that all you do is do interviews. So my question is, do you think I should do every other episode with the podcast, one standalone, one interview, or do you think out the gate, like I've recorded the first episode, which is just me telling my whole entire story, which is crazy. People who have heard it, they're like blown away because they didn't realize that I've done as much as I've done. Second one is Smashbox. Third one, I'm like, should I come to them with another well-known person, or should I, kind of ease in and establish myself again?
I would do something maybe similar to what Lewis Howes does, where it's an interview maybe on a Tuesday, and then it's like his little 5-minute talk on a Friday, teaching something or motivating them. And that way he keeps his expert status by doing that instead of just interviewing people all the time. I think that would be perfect. And then whenever you do that, one person, just you talking as the podcast, promote that webinar every single time. Promote it, get people to sign up for it. Because, with the webinar, you're not just going to be able to sell stuff, but you're going to be able to build your email list as well. Every time somebody signs up for your webinar, you build your email. And I think webinars are probably one of the easiest ways to build an email list. You got a good webinar, you'll sign up, 1,000, 2,000 people, depending on, what your topic is pretty fast, especially if you do some really good Facebook ads.
Okay, and one last question. I won't take up any more time. Email. Should I have 2 separate email lists for Brandon Wynn and Sincerely Her, or just one for one brand?
So what is the difference between Sincerely Her and Brandon Wynn? Brandon Wynn is the course itself, right?
Yes. So it has its own website. It has its own Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Everything's already set up. I started rolling out some things, and then I just kind of pushed back the last week or 2. But that's all set up. So I kind of was like, should I just have one master list, or?
So it's Brandon Wynn. I just want to be clear on this. Brandon Wynn is like the equivalent of maybe a Money Mind Academy, where it's the product that you sell.
Yes.
Right. So I would probably, since you're the one, and people may differ with this, and I'd love to get other opinions here, I would make it just a mass list for you, because Sincerely Her is you, right?
This is where it gets complicated. So all my branding is Sincerely Tam.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother thing. Team doing too much.
Yeah. There's too many things going on. So we got to simplify.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that I don't have a following like that. Most of the people who follow me for 2 things. 1, for motorsports, or 2, because I do a lot of inspirational quotes. Like, people know me for my little, every day I post something positive.
Okay, good. That's great. Can you tell me the difference between Sincerely Her and Sincerely Tam?
Well, Sincerely Her was the makeup artist me.
Okay.
And then, so I'm changing the name to Sincerely Her. So it's its own business, own entity. So that's what I have with Valente, my client, says makeup artist me. So I'm changing the name over to Sincerely Her.
Okay. And if I'm on Sincerely Her's email list, I get emails from you.
Well, I haven't sent anything out. It would
if it's hypothetically, though, I would get emails from you.
Well, it would be from Sincerely Her, signed by me. Because I think at this point I need to put myself out there, because nobody knew who was behind makeup artist me until they showed up to some of our workshops.
Right. So
and they were like, oh my God, Valente, nobody knows.
You want people to know who you are. Okay, so I would just segment the list where, when people sign up for the Brandon Wynn webinar, you have your webinar registrant, so that's one list, and then you actually have the people who've enrolled. And so if you do have a message that is around branding and winning that does not pertain to the rest of your list, then you can just email to that particular segment.
Okay.
So when I send something out about Money Mind Academy, it just goes to Money Mind Academy people. And then we have our broadcast. So if I send out an email on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday, whenever it is I feel like sending emails, that goes to another tag called broadcast. And those are like the general list. And sometimes I might think like, oh, well, this particular message does not pertain to this particular group, so I'm going to take this group out, and I'm just going to send it to the rest of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so big list.
Everybody Sean Croxton. That's the difference. So
say it again.
I said it makes sense, but see, all your stuff is Sean Croxton. From your podcast to your Money Mind Academy, everybody knows Sean Croxton. With my situation, it's just, these various things. Quinn, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Why can't everybody know you?
Right, exactly.
They didn't in the past.
But the makeup artist me community knows makeup artist me. So now I'm changing it to Sincere.
You get to, if you can communicate with these people, you get to tell them what they know, right? So why can't it all be you? Why can't you be one woman, one badass entrepreneur with like all of these interests, right? And that you do different things, right? Because here's the thing, it can all be you. You can tell them, hey, this is me. I'm introducing myself. Here's what we're about. We're about the makeup. We're about the branding. We're about Ferrari. This is what we do. We crush it in all these areas. You can do that, right? But I would also say something that really helped me, because we would have fun hanging out. We have a lot in common, is that I chose one thing, and I did that one thing for 6 months. Like I put it on the calendar. Because when you're someone who has a lot of things going on and a lot of opportunities and a lot of stuff all over the place, like a week seems like a month, right? Time goes by in a different way. So if you say, I'm going to focus on this one thing, and no matter what feelings come up, no matter what obstacles come up, no matter what different ideas I have, save that stuff for later, focus on that one thing until that date comes up on the calendar. Because that's how you're actually going to make progress on something. Even if your one thing is combining these areas of interest in these lists and reintroducing yourself and figuring out, okay, on Tuesdays, I'm going to talk about cars. On Thursdays, I'm going to talk about inspiration, or I'm going to do interviews, or whatever it is. I would hone it down and make sure there's some core connection in the middle. Maybe that core connection is you. Look at Sean, right? He's got the health and wellness people, but he's got people learning about money mindset. He's got people who like to read. He's got people who like inspiration. And the core connector is Sean, right? So everybody can know you. You can introduce yourself to those people today and say, it doesn't matter what they knew in the past. It matters what you tell them now and how you go at it in the future, right? But trying to run like 4 different businesses at once, none of those businesses are going to go very far. At some point, something has to give and be more important than the other things so that you can make progress. Because you can't drive down 4 roads at once, right? Combine it, make it you. You want to be out there. You want people to know who you are. That's okay. That's wonderful. You're wonderful. Show them who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
I like to say, divided attention never builds greatness. And that's why it's really important, if you're going to have several different businesses going on, that you have other people who are really being helpful in making decisions with those other businesses. I do want to make sure that we're being helpful, because something's telling me that we're not being as helpful as we could be here. I just want to spend a few more minutes with this, because I think it applies to everybody here. I just want to know, what is Makeup Artists Meet again? What is that?
So Makeup Artists Meet was a community for makeup artists, beauty enthusiasts, and industry insiders. So that was the tagline. Okay. So we focus primarily on building an international community of just beauty enthusiasts. So the switch to Sincerely Her is, the tagline is a community for doers, disruptors, and creatives. So pretty much the same thing. I just kind of switched up the words a little bit, but it's the same target demographics, because I seem to, that's just my community. I've never done hair, makeup, wardrobe, but, I've negotiated 1,000 deals, and, that's just kind of my thing. So, and that's the audience that I have. So it's not necessarily switching it completely. It's just a name change.
Okay, cool. So it's just a name change. And then can you just tell us one more time about Brandon Wynn? Who's that course for?
That course is for the same people, doers, disruptors, and creatives. So basically, if you're a hair, makeup, wardrobe stylist, photographer, even influencers, travel influencers, this is a course to help you find clarity, brand, and win.
Okay, gotcha. Do you feel, and I want to go back just real quick to the NASCAR thing. How does that fit in here?
It doesn't. So that's the bigger thing. Like on my Twitter, for instance, most of my followers are motorsports people, because they know me from my podcast, or they just somehow have come across me. But I don't feel as if my following in that world is huge. So I don't want to use the word suppress, but it's really something that I suppress. You either know that I, am into it, or you don't, but I don't talk about it a lot.
Who do you want to be your followers? Is it the doers, disruptors, and creators?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then my motorsports people though too, but they're not a factor.
They're not doing
motorsports, makeup, motivation. Those are the 3 things?
No motorsports.
No motorsports. So motorsports is like your fun hobby on the side.
Yeah.
Like when Marie Forleo dances to hip hop, it's not part of her business.
No.
Part of her personality.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's kind of one of the things that I've been dealing with, is like, okay, is it time for me to let my NASCAR podcast go? Because, last year I was writing for The Drive. I was a content contributor writing about NASCAR. I fell into it, but I quickly understood I didn't love it, and it was painful for me. Like, even though I can write, it started to become painful, because it was just too much going on. Sorry for all the hand
No, it's
motion.
all good. Painful's got to go. Painful,
Yeah.
we're not going to focus on. So
Yeah,
that's
so that's why I let it go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just curious, like, sincerely her, what does that mean?
Well, it's just something that I always write notes to myself, and one day I was just like, sincerely Tam, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll with sincerely her. Like, it's just something that came up, but it's really because I'm always writing notes to myself, and I write notes to other people, but they're for me, but I share them with other people.
I got you. I do feel like the name of the business probably isn't as specific. It doesn't really speak to doers, disruptors, and creators. I think that name for the business says a lot to you, but if I'm kind of a creator, I'm a doer. I'm not sure if I'm a disruptor, but if I saw the name Sincerely Tam or Sincerely Her, I wouldn't really know what it was. And so I would give a little bit of thought to that. But like I said earlier, I just wanted to be sure I knew exactly everything that was going on with the business so we could be specific and make sure that we help you. But yeah, again, you've got lots of followers. Some of those followers, may not be down for the more single focused version of you, and that's fine. They can go. It's like with Underground Wellness, like some people just had to go, and that's fine. I didn't really need them anyway. But, use your relationships to create a really dope podcast. And then 2 episodes a week, 1 interviewing, 1 just you, and get people to a webinar to join your course. And that's really it. That's simple dimple.
Okay. Well, thank you, because I needed to hear that. You guys simplified it for me. I've talked to other people, but I feel like they are not business minded. So, I always tell people, be careful where you get your advice from, because it's really an opinion unless that person is an expert. So I've bounced it around to a bunch of people, but I think their head is just, maybe I failed to explain it correctly, but, they don't really know. But I think that
it takes a little while to get it because there's so many different moving parts.
Yeah.
So maybe they just didn't fully get it. But I'm glad we really took this much time, and I hope that you feel good about that.
Thanks. I'll keep you guys posted. Sorry to take up so much time, but I appreciate everyone.
Not a problem. Yeah, you're welcome. Let's go to Joyce. Go ahead, Joyce. Are you unmuted?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So I have a question about what you just said to Tam about having the 2 podcasts. The comment that she made earlier, 2 episodes. Yeah. The comment that she said earlier that you can't be seen as the expert in a field if you're always interviewing other people. Being on your webinar right now, I kind of have to disagree with that, because a lot of us came to you through Underground Wellness through one of your webinars. I came to you through the Thyroid Summit, and if I had thyroid questions that I couldn't find by Googling or figuring out, I might drop you a note. You're not the thyroid guy, but I see you as an expert because of who you know and who you've interviewed.
Yeah,
you may not have the answer, but you'd be able to point me in direction.
I'm sorry, I missed the end of that. I was talking over you. Go ahead.
You may not have the exact answer I'm looking for, but you'd know where to direct me.
Well, that's that, and I think that's the point that she's making. So I'm glad you said that, because most of the emails that I get about health are about, do I know somebody? They're not asking for my expertise. They're looking to be connected. So that's not really an expert. That's more of a connector than anything else.
But being a good, solid connector and having good, solid people to connect people to is a skill and a trade, and it's not something that's out there. There's a lot of people that say they can do it, but they don't really know the right people.
Right. I think the distinction has to be made, though, between connector versus experts. When you position yourself as an expert, you can create courses and people are like, that's the expert and I want to follow them. I want to take their course. When you're the connector, people don't really see you in that expert type of role. And they're less like, you wouldn't expect me, if you watched the thyroid sessions, to create a course around thyroid, right? I would probably promote somebody else's course around thyroid. Like, I've never had anybody send me an email and be like, hey, can you create a course on thyroid? It's never happened. never on depression, never on anything. And so, however, if the content was different and I had a YouTube channel that was all about thyroid, then people would want to take my course on thyroid.
I respectfully disagree. I'm sitting in your Money Mind Academy for the second session in a row. You're not a money guy, but you have studied extensively.
Mm-hmm.
You have made yourself into an expert using other people's work. And the information that you're giving is very valuable.
Yeah, yes, and I thank you very much. But I also feel like, as opposed to getting, what was it, 100 people to sign up for Money Mind Academy in January, it was 100 and something. If I positioned myself better as an expert, it would have been 500. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at Denise Duffield Thomas, it's what pisses me off sometimes. It really pisses me off with this last launch. When she can sell, when she positions herself around money, right? Money for typically female entrepreneurs. And I read a Facebook post where she sold her $2,497 program to 301 people. I look at that and I go, fuck. You know, she just made $600,000 on this thing, which is really good for her. But I didn't do the same numbers because I haven't positioned myself as that type of expert. And so while I appreciate that people have signed up for the course and they know, like, and trust me through the Quote of the Day podcast, I know I can do much better, which is why on this Wednesday, I start shooting my own YouTube videos. That position.
I guess the reason I'm asking these questions is to maybe help Tam remove that block that she's got, that she's not an expert because she doesn't do hair and makeup. She's been in that industry and she's been managing those people for, what'd you say, 14 years? I think you probably know more than you think you know and can probably present it and maybe get started in a way that, like Sean's doing with money. You're in Money Mind Academy. You know that money's not really the focus of it. It's mindset. It's about rewiring those patterns. So if there's a way that you can do something similar and move yourself into an expert that combines all of your things, just a thought.
Joyce, sorry, go ahead, Tam.
Oh, I was going to say, Joyce, it's not that I don't think I'm an expert. Maybe I'm a little overconfident because I believe that I'm an expert. I believe that I'm uniquely qualified because I have been doing this for 14 years and I have been providing advice to other people. So I definitely do not think I'm an expert. I guess what I was trying to say is really establishing myself. And to Sean's point about the class and more people signing up, and he's right in a sense that for me, I took the time to learn more about Sean, but had I just come across him, I would have just thought he was a guy who just hosted a Quote of the Day podcast. Right. So that's pretty much my point, is going into it, really letting people know, like, hey, I have these connections. I can connect you and share other people's story, but I have my own story and I have a story to share that can help you. So that's what I'm saying in terms of establishing myself as an expert. So hopefully that clarifies it. Gwen?
Yeah, I was going to say, Joyce, that like Sean is like Oprah in that he's an expert interviewer. That's being an expert at being a journalist, right? But there's a difference between being a journalist who is an expert at interviewing people and is a connector, right? Like you accept Oprah's book recommendations and her whatever else she's recommending in the world, right? But you're not paying Oprah to do those specific things that she's enlightening you about through the interviews, right? So like, is Sean an expert journalist? Yeah, he's a brilliant journalist. He's a brilliant interviewer, right? But that's so different than him being an expert money mindset guy, which he is, right? And saying, this is who I am. Does that make sense? That there's a difference between a journalist and an expert, no matter how much you like.
I absolutely, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I buy every course that Oprah publishes.
Yeah, but
that's published courses.
Right. But that's because she built a relationship with you. That's because she brought the value through her skill, right? And elevated herself like Sean did to that point where you would trust her recommendations and you would, Sean's old business was based on affiliate sales. You trusted him to connect you with somebody. And so you bought through Sean and that's how Sean made money. right?
Right.
Like Oprah's favorite things. Oprah's making money, you know? And so that's the difference is when you flip it and you say, okay, now I'm Oprah and I wrote a book about this stuff based on my expertise. That's a whole different ballgame than just connecting to experts and sharing things and building that relationship. It's using that relationship in a totally different and new way. And that's like what Sean's doing with Money Mind Academy. He's saying, now I'm using my relationship with you to show you that I'm an expert in something, and now I have a new way of connecting with you, which is more direct, because there's no one in between Sean and you. There's no expert being interviewed. There's no course he's promoting. It's all him.
Yeah. So that was a conscious decision, like to stop interviewing people and stop spending, most of my week studying somebody else's stuff. Like all that stuff's great to know. I love it. Great people, great for networking as well. But it wasn't really what I wanted to learn about. And the stuff that you learn about in Money Mind Academy, I wouldn't have known that stuff if I had to spend 20, 30 hours a week reading something about, I don't know, whatever one of these books is about. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good question, Jay.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. I interpreted what Tam said differently than how she meant it. And so when she clarified what she was saying, that kind of changed. Good conversation, but it changed where I was coming from.
Cool. Thanks, Joyce. Alex, you're unmuted. What's up, bud?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm in a coffee shop, so just a quick background. I'm a photographer, and I've been teaching in-person classes for almost 15 years. So I've got a lot of experience teaching, but I want to, take it online. And so I've got some, more simple technical questions. One, what do you guys feel about Patreon?
I don't know anything about Patreon personally. Tam looks like you do. Laura looks like you do. Quinn looks like you do. Go for it.
So there is a guy in the motorsports community. His name is Jeff Gluck. You should look him up. He left USA Today, and then he kind of rolled out his own thing. And literally, he collected enough money from Patreon to travel to, I think we have 36 races a year, and he collected enough to go to 24 races a year. So basically, he has a strong community, and he offered various little packages to his community for signing up. So you could contribute as, a minimum amount of $5, or you can contribute more. But it worked really, really well for him. And there's another person.
What's his last name?
It's Gluck, Gluck.
Got it.
Oh, that's one thing. So Jeff did so great by himself that The Athletic, I'm not sure if you know The Athletic. So the athletic.com, Fox Sports laid off all their writers. So Fox Sports has no more writers. It's pretty much video. So most of those people started a company called The Athletic, which is just all about sports, but it's a paid subscription. So Jeff Gluck did so well last year by himself that The Athletic bought him up and scooped up. And then what he did was he transferred his Patreon people over to The Athletic. So he had his own audience, and they were like, yeah, we'll take your audience and their money, basically. So saying that to say, Patreon is good if you know how to work it and how to put it together. And people will give you money. There's some podcasts in my space that, they're collecting a few $100s a month. I mean, and these are not like big podcasts. So, it's great if you have the patience.
Okay. Yeah, I've already set up an account and set up my platform and everything. It's my content creation. So like I said, I've been doing a lot of in-person classes for a long time. So I have like keynotes and PowerPoints. Sean, I guess this is a question for you on your webinars. What do you build your webinars with? Did you catch that, Sean?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted out.
Okay.
The actual presentations?
Yeah.
Yes. What's that?
Keynote?
Yeah, Keynote.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I build all my stuff in. So I've got a lot of those from the in-person classes that I've done.
Yeah, you just pretty much take your in-person stuff and just teach it on.
So I just need to kind of modify those more for doing. Yes. So and so you do everything with Zoom. I know these are more like simple technical questions, but Zoom and Keynote, so I'm already kind of got that going. And then I guess my last question is, like I have a MailChimp account, and I've got about 350 people who have subscribed or opted in. But everyone tells me I should get away from MailChimp. And I don't know why. No one has a good reason why.
MailChimp is fine for now. Well, the only thing around MailChimp, they've changed it, but I just couldn't figure it out. So you may want to get on the call with them, is segmenting your list. So into specific groups. So if you have different, let's say you have a wedding photography course and you have a, I don't know, something else photography course, just so you can segment people by what course they bought or which webinar they attended, that would be cool. I just had a hard time figuring out how to work that in MailChimp. But if for a basic business right now, if you're just getting started online, MailChimp is perfect. You're good to go with that. What was I going to say? Oh, what about the people who have taken your in-person seminars? Do you have a list of them?
I've got about 1,900 people on a separate list, just like in my email contacts.
Yeah, those people would be more than happy to hear from you, especially when it comes to them not having to get up and fly somewhere or go somewhere for a course from you. They can just do it from home. I would certainly utilize that 1,900 list to start promoting your programs. Also, I think we talked about this before, but Frono's Photo and Cole's Classroom, you can use those as target audiences for your Facebook ads or with your Facebook ads.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm breaking up.
Your video's breaking up.
Oh, darn. Need that a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, no Frono's and Cole's.
Yeah. So I would use them as target audiences for your Facebook ads.
Yeah, I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's you can hire that out, or there's definitely a lot of courses online. I would go to like udemy.com.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar.
Lots of courses about Facebook on there.
Awesome. If I did move from MailChimp, like people suggested ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft. Like, does anyone have any recommendations on that?
I don't have personal experience with ActiveCampaign. I do use Infusionsoft. It's a little bit expensive, probably for your current place in your business. We use Infusionsoft, or we switched over to Infusionsoft many years ago because we had products to sell, and we also did a lot of affiliate stuff. And we had different accounts. We had like an account to sell our products. We had an account for email, and then we had accounts for another account for affiliate marketing. And so this kind of just put it all under one roof for us, and so it saved us a little bit of money. It's good, but again, I don't think like at this place in your business you really need to have a $449 expense. Go ahead, Quinn.
Someone just asked me. Yes, I run everything through Kajabi. You can do your marketing emails through Kajabi. You can do your landing pages. You can do your course videos. It's really all-inclusive, and it's freaking so easy to learn how to use. It's crazy. They're actually running a summer sale right now, so I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
If you want to check them out. And they're also have incredible customer service, which is one of my big things when I choose software. I want to be able to like get someone on the phone and talk to somebody nice and knowledgeable who's like really going to be like on my team and really want me to succeed and help me no matter how silly my questions are. And Kajabi does that both for customers and for their, customers as in people taking courses. Like if you had trouble with Sean's Money Mind Academy signing in, Kajabi would help you out and be amazing. And then also if you actually buy their software and use them to create courses, they're going to be there for you too. And that's a huge, huge thing. To have help there when you need it. 24
So that's your email management system and your course creation and
Yep. They
how you host it and
incredible things. Yeah, you can load all your. It's like Zoom, like that's what Sean does, and that's what I'm doing is Zoom to record the classes, and then you load them into Kajabi, and they even have you create community areas. You can create all sorts of automations. You can do affiliate marketing. Where if people promote your course, they can get a cut of any commissions that they make. But yeah, they can do all the emails and stuff, and they make it really easy. It's like, oh, I want to do an event. Okay, you're going to put 3 emails in front, 3 emails behind, whatever you want to do. They even have a component where they can make you like a front page website, which is nice too.
I might switch over to that.
Yeah, it could save you, depending on what else you're using, it can save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you don't have like a web host and an email marketing thing and all these separate softwares you're trying to connect. You can just put it all in Kajabi, and you can and manage all of it in one place. And it also makes it less likely you're going to have technical difficulties with things software not talking to each other. Like links won't break because they're all coming and going to the same place.
Right.
So it's a pretty robust system, and they're a good company, and they're building it out even bigger. So and I think now with the summer sale, you can hold on to the price you pay forever, which is pretty cool.
And I think I heard somewhere if you do $100,000 launch, you get featured, like on your homepage, which is really good, and you get to speak.
Yeah.
It's like that's another reason why I was thinking about moving over to Kajabi, is because if I can be featured on the homepage of Kajabi with like Brendan Burchard and some of those other people, and get to speak at their conferences because I'm doing so well on Kajabi, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, they have like achievements and stuff that you hit. So you get like, it's kind of fun. It's like playing a game. They're using game theory. So if you get a certain amount of signups for your course or a certain amount of interaction, you get like badges and awards, and it opens up new levels of Kajabi for you where they'll help you even more promote your business to their list, which is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
There's
pretty
smart
cool.
marketers who run that company.
Yeah.
Very smart marketers. Yeah. That's a really good idea. I'm going to work on getting that done. Anything else, Alex?
I probably have a lot of other questions, but that's a good start.
Yo, I would reach out to Cole and get some coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, because he doesn't own that company anymore, and so it's not really a conflict of interest for him.
Okay.
Not like he's competing with you. So reach out.
Okay.
To him. Actually,
You've got his contact.
let me write that down. I'm gonna send him a text message and see if it's cool if he contacts you, and then I'll send you an email.
That would be awesome.
Or if you contact him. Okay.
Right.
All right, cool. Anything else?
Great. No, I appreciate y'all's time and guidance. Thank you.
Laura, MailChimp is fine if you're just getting started. If you're not going to have a course or anything like that, MailChimp is totally free. So do that. Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah. I am just kind of wondering, I think I've decided that I'm going to start doing YouTube. I think.
You think?
I am definitely. Well, I'm a little like, am I really cut up for video? Like, there's that, there's some people who are just not cut up for video.
Yes and no. I think everybody's cut out for video if they just relax and just loosen up and just be instead of some people are just stiff as hell well, I hear you, go ahead.
So I've kind of been, I started doing like more of the market research for kind of my target, and I've seen the gap. I came across one group and I'm like, yeah, there's a market there for what I can do, because I heard a quote that was like, don't say you can do it better, say you can do it differently, or something like that, like Steve Jobs quote or whatever. So I've been trying to be like, I can do it differently, because they're really like long and not good videos or whatever, but it's the content idea or whatever. Anyway, and they have lots of views on their stuff, even though they're not great videos, So I'm like, okay, so there is stuff there. Now I also want to start building my email list more, and still do writing. So like to find that balance of like, how often do you write, and how versus how many videos to produce each week or whatever. And I've already thought about doing the whole batching thing. Like that's what I'm going to do, is like batching. So if you're doing videos, how much blog writing do you do as well? Because I know that I need to start writing my list more, and I do like to write or whatever. So I don't know.
I think it's up to you and your schedule, first of all, so you don't overwhelm yourself. I think if you got out just to start one video a week, that would, and then your email newsletter that goes out to your list can just be an article about the video.
Yeah.
You kill two birds with one stone. And then on the blog, of course, the newsletter becomes the blog post, and then you just the video there. And just start with that. Do that for a month. And if you feel like, you know, you have enough time to create more videos and to do more writing, then go ahead and do that. I know with you, you said you're a very long-winded writer.
Yeah.
You know, I would, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I would just try to shorten things up a little bit. You know, you have to understand, like, most people aren't going to read a super long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, you know, readability is super important. But, and I also think, like, you can probably write a really good article fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And if you can get that done, then you move up to 2 a week, and then you move up to three a week, like whatever works. But I think just keeping it simple, you know, as I like to say, would be best. Personally.
Okay.
Just get the ball rolling.
Yes. Yeah. And then on the technical side, I've already been thinking about obviously the types of videos that I'm going to do, but like, how the heck do you do those? Like, you do your video, and then, you know, when they're like, and over here, and then over here, and then on the screen is when all those things pop up that are inserted afterwards, you know, like my link is here, and like with all the writing stuff, how do you do that stuff? Like, where do I go, or do I farm it out?
I think at this point, all you really need to know how to do is a lower third. And so a lower third is just like where it says John Croxton, johncroxton.com, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the video, it's like, go to suchandsuch.com to get the free thing. I think that's really all you need right now. If you get down by like technical images and B-roll and all of that stuff and music, it's just doing too much. Like, get started. And then if you want to hire that out, you can always hire somebody in like the Philippines or Malaysia or whatever to do it for a really good price, unless you have a big budget and you want to hire somebody here.
Okay. And then one last question is just like, the whole house space, like, I mean, I guess because I'm in it, it does feel so incredibly saturated. Like, it's just like, it's absurd in some ways.
Saturated with people who kind of suck on video.
Yeah.
Saturated with really boring people, you know, and that's where you have to be, like, I hate to say the word entertaining, but you just have to be engaging and enthusiastic with your content and not be boring.
Yeah.
You know? And if you're not boring, you'll do well. And it's not just being not boring, but, you know, instead of spending time trying to figure out how to get images on the screen, you spend a day or two like learning how to use TubeBuddy, as we've made about on other.
Yes, yeah.
TubeBuddy. Then, you know, I have a friend who has a podcast, and I haven't talked to him for a while, but I was up the other night because he turns his podcast into a YouTube video. And he has really good guests, and he really, really knows how to interview. And he's been doing it for 3, 4, or 5 years. And his YouTube presence is terrible. He's getting like 12 clicks on a video. And it's just like, what is he doing? And I looked over at his tags, and they were like tags that you would have used in like 2007. No, if he just used TubeBuddy, he would explode his business, but he's just not very methodical about that. And most people aren't. And so I would, again, engage in content. I already feel like you're an engaging person, period. Right? I think you have a lot of good opinions. I think you have really good energy the vast majority of the time, except for that little phase there. And I think, you know, as we talked about yesterday, like, you have the ability to, you know, sit your ass down and like get things done when you really, really want to. And you can do that here for sure. And that will be the difference between you and the 99% of boring health practitioners who talk over people's heads and don't know what they're doing in terms of tagging and SEO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. You got this. Anybody else have a question?
I have one thing to say to Rebecca. Rebecca, yeah, health and wellness is like, a lot of people are in it, and some of them aren't that great. But I've never seen a health and wellness expert who brings the Bible in to that's like, the Bible is like part of the core of your entire message, right?
Yeah.
That's its own niche, and I don't think anyone else is in there. So
It's very small.
Because once you add, like, you could have all those other tags turned on about health and wellness and nutrition, but once you also say, and they also have to be super into the Bible and this type of Christianity and this type of messaging, that you're honing in really deep. There's a lot of people in there, but they're not being served.
Yeah.
Right? They're not being served with the combo. And so I think that's a really special niche all on its own. And I think it could do really, really great, especially with you behind it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's my idea is like, okay, so you started eating biblically clean, but what's next? Like you cut out pork, great. Do you know about all the rest of this stuff? Like, so.
Maybe a few years ago, and maybe I was completely unaware of it before, Hollywood started releasing like Christian movies.
Yeah.
They did really well, and they had to have done really well because they keep on releasing them. And so, you know, there are
a lot of them are really inaccurate, but
I'm sure they are. But but they're doing it because there's a huge base of people who want to watch movies like this.
Yeah.
So it's there. You just gotta do it.
Yeah. I was surprised. This one video that I saw, like I couldn't finish watching it, but she had over like 70 comments and like all these views, and I'm like, man, if she can do this, like I can do it.
Yeah.
Like I can, like, yeah, I got this. Like I can do it. Like,
you got this. Good stuff, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Let's go to Alex. Alex, you have a question. I'm not sure if I understand your question about software to use for the YouTube video links. Alex? Unmute. There you go.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just saying, like, are you using like Adobe Premiere? Like, what are you using to put in the links?
To put in the links? Like,
she was talking about like the lower third and like all that stuff. Are you just using YouTube, or like you're using a separate video editing software?
If you have a Mac, it would be like iMovie you can use if you just want to use a free version.
Oh, just that simple?
Yeah.
Like I've got Premiere,
like whatever it is, like there's always a lower third that you can just drag over and type in whatever you want. You'll see it there. It'll say lower third or cut one of the others.
Are they asking about clickable links or just links that appear?
Clickable links.
Oh, there's no clickable links inside of a video.
I think those are within YouTube. I haven't done it in a long time, but there's a YouTube thing in your menu where you just
cards. I think it's called cards.
Something like that. Yeah.
YouTube has cards where you can actually put a link into like a clickable link in the video.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
At some point in the video, and you can designate when it starts. 45 seconds in, it'll pop up and it's like, click here to go to whatever. You can do that. But of course, in the video itself, you can't click anything that's embedded in the video itself. Okay. I'm glad you
right. Okay. So it's a YouTube function.
YouTube, yeah, I think it's called YouTube Cards. Because we actually we put a bunch of cards into the old underground wellness content that sent people to the Jerk Bar website. So I know that's possible.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? 13 minutes left. Anybody else?
Well, I'll jump in.
Go for it.
I have a question. I noticed you use iPages. Is there a specific reason that you don't do a directory from SeanCroxton.com when you're doing your, I guess, their lead pages?
You said iPages before, and I got kind of stumbled on that.
I was just saying, I noticed like when you have like an announcement or your, like for instance, let me see. I just saw it. I noticed your URL has ipages.co sometimes.
Lead pages?
No.
iPage. I don't even know what that means.
I think why aren't your sales pages connected to your website? Like if someone on their website, the reason why they go to like richlitsociety.com and check it out from there.
Because I don't want to say SeanCroxton.com/Richlit Society. It's too long for people, and they can remember Richlit Society. And basically what I do is I go into lead pages, and I have a pretty good sales page template that I've created a few sales pages through, and I can just go in there and just switch it up real quick. And it takes me a day, as a matter of fact. And so they give you a lead pages URL for that. So basically I just go to GoDaddy.com and I just forward Richlit Society to that lead page. And I just do it so I can just verbally say it. And also because lead pages itself is not on my website. Lead pages is a separate website that allows you to make modifications to templates to create a sales page or a squeeze page or a thank you page or whatever it may be. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense, but I'm thinking from just a branding and an SEO point of view, is it better to have it off the URL as opposed to like, okay, if I want to like Richlet Society, I know it's a separate thing, but it's still Sean Croxton. So personally, I went to the website looking for it, and then I had to go back to the email.
Oh, okay. Well, it will be, because I just put it up yesterday. It will be in the menu. Actually, I should just do that today. So if you click on like the hamburger menu on SeanCroxton.com, there will be a link that says Richlet Society or book club or something like that, where you can click it. And I will probably have it open up in a new tab, or maybe not. I'm not sure. But yeah, it will be on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just intervene, Sean, from a advertisement perspective?
I'm sorry, I can't even. I can't hear you well.
This is Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Sean?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just a little muffled. Like you got
Sorry, it's my cold. So if you're looking to do any type of advertisement through Google or Facebook, you should have any pages on your website so you can pixel them and then retarget them with either Google, Facebook, and in the future Instagram. If you have it on a different website, then it complicates the process in which you have to install another pixel, and then it makes everything more complicated.
I got you. So it should be on the website itself. Okay, that's good
All
to
the
know.
time.
That's good to know for advertising. I haven't really got into like Facebook ads and retargeting quite yet, but when we do, that's really good to know. I don't really focus so much on like SEO going to my website itself, because the overwhelming majority of people who follow me just go directly to the podcasting platforms because they're subscribers. So they go to iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play. So, you know, SEO just really wasn't something I focused on. So, anybody else have a question? Stephanie, you have a question? I see your hand.
Can you hear me good? I just want to make sure I have good clarity of sound.
It's not, we can't hear you really. Lean into it.
How's that? Is it better?
That's 8 million times better.
You know, it's funny. I took off my headset.
Okay, good.
So I just wanted to share with everyone, I've been working with Sean for 3 years. I came into Sean's world when I closed my practice in Canada and went online. And I've been taking and buying everything and coach with him individually and mastermind. And he is the reason why I am where I am with my business. But very specifically, the reason why I'm into a 6-figure business today is because he combines mindset with technical stuff. And I used to be someone that used to be all over the technical stuff, and it got me like nowhere. If I can share one thing with you, get your mindset straight, and then everything else will become so easy. You will be like Sean, seeing things simple instead of being overwhelmed with complication. There's one filter that I like to use, and this is something that I've developed in my own practice. I help women with body image. And one thing I teach them is use the filter of love versus fear. So when you're about to make a decision and you feel perhaps doubts, anxiety, ask yourself, am I making this choice because I'm afraid, or because I love myself and I trust myself and I have confidence in myself? And that will make your decision super easy to do. Obviously, you don't choose fear, you choose love all the time. Thank you, Sean.
Good stuff. Thank you. Yeah, that's totally real. What is that? Where is it at? I love this quote from Jen Sincero's book. She says, oh, fuck, now I can't find it. I thought it was in like page 1. Anyway, she's just talking about how people go to these expensive workshops, these expensive events, expensive courses, and all that stuff, and only 5% of them actually take action on anything. And it's because you can learn all of the nuts and bolts, you can learn all of the marketing, you can learn all of the sales strategies and whatnot. But if your mind isn't right, you're not going to do it. And we always feel like we don't know enough. It's not that you don't know enough, even though the knowledge is really important, is that you're not aligned. Your mind is not aligned with, what you want to do. Your conscious mind, your subconscious mind are two completely different pages. And so, that's why I decided to do the health coaching course that's coming up pretty soon. This isn't like a pitch thing at all, but because I've seen way too many health coaches just struggle in their businesses, spending tons of money on like one-on-one coaching and all of this stuff, and they never do anything with it. And it's because there's just so many core conflicts going on in the subconscious mind, what they believe, what they value, on and on. And honestly, I'm just kind of sick of it. And so it's going to be called Quantum Health Coach. And I'm launching it in a few weeks. And then we also have the Rich Lit Society, which is going to start in a few weeks as well on August 6th, I believe. There's a link in the chat if you want to learn more about that. It's a book club, and we're going to read books together. And so it's about selection, discussion, and application. So I select the books because I've read pretty much all of them, as you can see. We discuss them every Wednesday evening at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time, 8:00 Eastern time via Zoom, just like this. And then also we'll have app sheets, which will help you with the application of what you're learning. And so that is the Rich Lit Society. We have a special going on, $67 per month for the next couple of weeks. And then it goes up to $97 if you want to sign up after that. And so it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to get to read books with people and help them to grow and get the mindset stuff right, instead of always like going toward the next business guru to follow and never really doing shit with it, So Laura said, how many books per month? Probably one or two. Think and Grow Rich is going to be our first book, and it's going to be the 21st century edition, this one. It's probably going to take us about a month to get through. The whole philosophy behind the Rich Lit Society is like 4 to 5 hours a week tops is what I want people spending on the reading, like an hour a day. And so I'm taking the weekends off, of course. And so, so it might be one book, it might be 2 books. I know some of the Neville books are like really short, so that might be like 2 or 3 weeks. And then some of them are pretty thick, so it really depends. So that'll be pretty cool. If you guys want to sign up for that, go for it. I don't have a welcome email set up for it today. It's on my list of things to do at the office later. But it'll be really cool to have you in our group. It's going to be dope. Facebook group, members area, everything's going to be in there. I'm really excited about that. I got time for another question or two. Anybody have a? Lori, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, so I know the best practices, I think, for emailing people is to have them opt in. When you're really early on in this journey and you have, your Gmail contacts, someone I know suggested like building your pretty email in MailChimp and then going ahead and dropping it into your Gmail contacts and just like blasting everyone. And I kind of feel like that's terrible form. What would you recommend to like get people from your Gmail contacts over to your list so that you could then allow them to opt into emails on this specific content?
I would create a squeeze page through an opt-in page. You can do that through MailChimp. I think they have some templates for that. I like the ones on lead pages better, but MailChimp does have theirs. And just get them to opt in. That's it. I used to do that when I first started my business. I was like emailing friends and family and stuff like that. And then I just decided it just feels a little weird that they didn't give me permission for that. They gave me permission, cool. But if they didn't, just didn't feel good. Yeah. Alex, did you have something? Did you want to add something?
Thank you.
No problem.
I was just saying that's how I started, was with my Gmail contacts, and I just created the opt-in page through MailChimp, and it was super, super simple. Just got their first name and email address. And that was it. And I did a big email blast, and Gmail limits it to like 500 at a time. But that's how I started with my list, and it worked fine. And no one got mad. No one sent any nasty emails or anything.
Thank you.
That's good. All right. Anybody else have a question before I let you go? Going once. Going twice. Quinn, go ahead.
Hey, Sean, there's a limit to how many people are getting into Rich Lit in the first round, right?
No.
Oh, there's no limit?
There's 20 for quantum health coach. And then
Oh, okay.
maybe it's 25. I can't remember, but I don't want to teach too many people the first time with that course.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Y'all enjoy your Saturday. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you next time. Bye. There'll be a recording. I'll send it to you. Bye.